growing up. I mean, what was it like as a kid? Were you into sports, hobbies?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, my parents actually met shooting in Alaska. One was on the Fairbanks, Alaska team, and one was on the Anchorage, Alaska team. And so after they graduated college, they moved back to Connecticut, my home town of Meriden, Connecticut, and continued the family business, which was a shooting range and gun store. And so I grew up shooting competitively. It's an Olympic sport. Not many people know about that. And I actually was fortunate enough to get a scholarship at The Ohio State University. And so I competed all my life, was super competitive, and was All American, Olympic development team, did the World Cup circuit, did NCAA championships, led our team to the first NCAA championships, was captain there at OSU. So I had a pretty successful career. And then when I got out of it, I kind of got the 9 to 5 job at JP Morgan. Didn't really care for it too much, wasn't really rewarded for working hard. Um, and around the same time, about a year into my career, my roommate, old college roommate, and I had got an apartment together after college. We were kind of working in the same area, and we happened to buy a duplex. So we
Huh.
moved into one side of the duplex, rent out the other side, rent out the extra bedrooms on our side, and we were actually living rent free. The tenants were paying our mortgages, and we were making $50 a month.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, it was pretty cool. We really enjoyed that. And we are like, well, shoot, we should do this again. So 3 months later, we bought a 4 unit, kind of fixed it up, and we were cash flowing about $1,000 a month after we fixed that up. And we just bought another 4 unit. He quit his job because he's like, I don't really need to work anymore. I started mailing in at work, not working very hard. I started like going in a little bit early so I could leave early and started cold calling
Yeah.
for off market deals. And that's kind of what sparked the interest. I got laid off because I was not a very good worker at my job, JP Morgan, and got my real estate sales license and started this brokerage.
Well, I got to unpack the very beginning of you just skipping through all of the accolades.
Yeah.
How did, obviously, I'm sure that's where you got the name, right? With
hmm
your parents. How did they get into that sport? Did they ever share like what got them into it? And then obviously, the family business, then you got into it, obviously. But
Yep.
that's a unique path.
Yeah, especially in Connecticut. You don't really think of Connecticut and think of guns.
Yeah.
It's pretty anti-gun state, but no, my Connecticut and the East Coast actually used to be really big into guns. A lot of gun manufacturing, a lot of shooting ranges. So the family business had just always been on my dad's side of the family, and so his father and his grandfather had always been in the sport. Um, Not sure how my mom's father was border patrol down in Texas, so he was always into guns. So it's just a good way to get a scholarship that not many people know about.
Well,
So
how do you go down that? I mean, obviously, it's not like a school sport, right? Or maybe it was. I don't know.
yeah, there were actually 18 high schools in Connecticut, which isn't a
Oh,
very big
wow.
state that yeah, shot competitively.
Okay. So then, what was that circuit like for you? One, I'm just curious because I don't even know. But what was that circuit like? I mean, was it treated at like? Did they have seasons, or was it more like
Yeah, it was a winter
traveling for
sport.
tournaments? Or
We did both. So it was a winter sport. So we would, after I got done with water polo, in the fall, I would move right into rifle in high school, and I would shoot competitively, and led my team to the first high school championships showing, and,
wow.
and we actually won on a wild card slot. Second year, same thing, got the wild card slot in our conference, and then went to the championships and won that. And then the third and fourth year, we just blew the competition out of the water. But yeah, I would just did that in high school a lot, and then got picked up by the college recruiters. And then I was on the Olympic development team, so I traveled to Azerbaijan, to Spain, all over the country competing for the U.S. too.
What was that like? I mean, that is I've had Kim Mills on here. She's also a real estate agent, and she swam, at Michigan,
Yep.
at a high level, and went out for the Olympic trials,
hmm
didn't make it. That's a lot of dedication. That's a lot of focus, putting in the late hours. I mean, what was that like for you at that time? at that stage of your life and your career.
Yeah, I mean, I've always just filled my time with something. So, especially in high school, I went to a preparatory boarding school about 40 minutes away from my house. So I actually lived there. So it was just all very regimented. I mean, you wake up at 7:30, you shower. If you're an early riser, you get to the dining hall and you get breakfast, but you just go to school from 8 to 3, formal sit down lunch, and then 3:30 your sport starts. So I did water polo, rifle, and lacrosse. So I always
Hmm.
always played a sport every trimester, and you get done with your sport, you shower, you go to dining hall, you eat, you maybe have about like an hour or two to like hang out with friends, and then you have study hall. So 2 hours of study hall, formalized. You got to be in your room studying, and then you got maybe a half hour after that to shower, you get ready for bed, wind down, and then go to sleep and start it over. So it's just all very regimented, very, and I just learned how to use my time. So when I went to college, most of my buddies, were drinking and partying, which not to say I didn't do that as well, but I was just more efficient about how I did it. I wasn't sitting in my room playing video games or watching TV. I structured so all my classes in college were at 8 a.m. So I was done by at least noon, so I could get to the range
Yeah.
and train for 4 hours every day, and then I could go back and study a little bit and then hang out with my friends. So when I graduated college, I all of a sudden went from having, and then I would travel on the weekends all across the
Sure.
mostly the United States, to Alaska, to West Point, etc. So when I graduated college, I found I had a lot of time on my hands. I mean, I would go in and work from 8 to 5, and then I wouldn't really have any homework or anything. So I started actually buying and selling video games, like old Nintendo video games.
Oh wow.
And real estate, you can make a lot more buying and selling.
What
So
I'm curious, what got you into flipping video games?
I was just bored and wanted to make more money. So,
Were you
and I
were you
couldn't.
educated about it? I mean, were you, or was it just kind of you saw like an opportunity, or
Yeah, I
because
mean,
you
I
mentioned that you didn't really do many video games like in school and stuff and growing up because obviously you were very disciplined on your day, but
yeah,
was
I not really. I mean, I'd played like Call of Duty and Halo and stuff, but never really.
sure.
Nintendo games have the most resale value, so that's no. I just looked up prices on eBay and figured it out and learned that way.
What was running a business or entrepreneurship something that you were always interested in, or
Yeah, I think I kind of caught the entrepreneurial bug with my father kind of owning his business. So towards the end of his life, so he passed away about like 5 years ago. I had actually
mm,
started helping him kind of do social media for his company, set up Google AdWords for his company, and he wasn't really doing that well with the business. But when my mom took it over, I mean, we were able to 3x revenue and cut expenses just from like the business classes I had taken and kind of like high level consulting that I
sure.
had was able to give my father towards the end of his life, and then was able to kind of hand off to my mom. So that's kind of where I really got it and saw the potential growth in net worth, and then that's just kind of rolled into real estate.
Now, post graduation, was that when all of the Olympic trials and all that stuff was happening, or is that during your collegiate career?
Yeah, so the Olympic trials that I went to, actually it worked out really nicely. So as soon as I graduated my senior year, I only had to train for about 2 more months and then did the Olympic trials. So I was
Okay,
seventh on the Olympic trials and I needed to be first to get the quota spot. So unfortunately I missed it, but I was kind of done with rifle at that point anyways. So it was a
yeah.
good kind of closing to the career.
And you ended up graduating from Ohio State. Did you have a specific degree that you were interested in at the time?
Yeah, I majored in finance and minored in economics.
Okay,
So
okay.
now
So
now they have a
graduation,
real estate course, which is really nice. They didn't really have that when I was there.
yeah. What year did you graduate?
2016.
Okay, okay, cool. So then after graduation, that's when you just kind of went into the work field with Chase.
Yep. Yeah, I actually got a part-time job because I was so busy with rifle. I kind of neglected getting like a good internship. So, and I knew I wanted to like be an investment banker working on Wall Street. So I'm like, okay, I got to find a way to get a job at Chase. So I was a bank teller my senior year for like 20 hours a week, doing that, which was kind of cool, because my parents were paying for my living expenses. I don't even know if they knew I had a part-time job. So I was able to, I put like 50% of my income from that job, which was not very much. It was like $10, 10.50 an hour into my 401k because I didn't need the money. And then
Yeah.
if my parents saw that I didn't have a lot of money in my bank account, they would just give me more money. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So then you end up, working through Chase, and you just happened to, was buying that first duplex, was that intentional? Like, did you know you wanted to get into the real estate investing space, or was it just that opportunity that you saw that we could potentially, hey, have a spot to live, get out of renting, and have someone cover the mortgage?
Yeah, so a lot of people like read books about real estate investing and do a lot of research. I had no clue. It was just completely by accident.
Wow.
I went into contract on a single family, and you know, like most first-time home buyers, I got scared during the inspection period, and we terminated. And then the next home that my realtor brought us was a duplex, and we're like, okay, yeah, this is kind of cool. We'll be able to rent out the other side and make some money. And then we realized we only had to bring like 6% down to closing, and it was my buddy and I. So it was only like 15,000 bucks from our down payment, and our monthly payment was 2,000. So we rented up the other side for like 1550, and we rented our extra bedroom for 500. So um, now I've got it rented for like 4,000. So it cash flows pretty well.
How crazy is that? You
Yeah.
know, potentially going from owning a single family home, who knows if you would have gotten into investing after that, right? I mean, it's
Right.
just, I think it maybe opened your eyes. So then you go from the duplex to the 4 unit,
Hmm.
um, then from the 4 unit to another 4 unit. At that time, where did you pick up any training or books or anything to really start diving into the real estate investing side? Or
Yeah, I started listening to podcasts. So the big one was like Bigger Pockets
yeah,
podcasts. So they're all about like real estate investing. But I was doing all the work myself. Like, I mean, as soon as we bought one property or one of our first 4 unit, the tenant died while I was doing a showing on the other side. Like literally, as I was doing the showing on the other side, he had a
mm,
massive heart attack. But he was like a smoker, so like I had to like scrub like nicotine off the walls. I actually had like my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, like helping me scrub the nicotine off the walls. And like we did all the work ourselves. We did all the plumbing, we did all the electrical, which I had, which it was a good experience. But when we turned the water on, like we had to like hire like an actual professional to come in and fix everything that we had just done.
right,
Um, so yeah, that to answer your question. Now I didn't have any formal training, and that's what I recommend to my investors when they kind of meet me is and want to work with me and want to buy their first property. They're like, oh, what should my ROI be? What should my cash flow be? Like, how should I analyze this deal? I'm like, my best advice is to kind of like throw out the books and don't get stuck in analysis paralysis because, I have clients who've been working with me for 4 years now and have never bought a property. And I just say, hey, even if you had lost $10,000, $20,000 on this first property 4 years ago, you would have been able to learn from that, bought smarter, and known what you're doing in the next deal, and your
right.
net worth could be 1-2 million at this point if you just started 4 years ago.
Yeah.